Hey, I'm Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. Every so often, it's possible to find something that's really good, even when you're not really looking for it. Like you just sort of, what's out there? You hit a random trailer or whatever, and it leads you somewhere. So I think I was reading an article on some website where in the corner an ad appeared advertising a Spanish language TV show called 30 Coins, or 30 Monedas in Spanish, but which appears set in the modern day. Now this piqued my interest because we all know the reference 30 coins is a reference to the 30 silver coins that Judas Iscariot was paid to betray Jesus Christ in the Catholic religion. So was this a religious show? Some sort of what is something else? Now it turns out that 30 Coins was a paranormal TV show, like basically an urban horror fantasy program, and having watched 3 episodes of it so far, it's similar in its appearance to Supernatural or Grimm. It's darker, it has darkness like they do. Less humor, more like Grimm in that sense, So let's get some basic stats. 30 Coins, or 30 Monedas, is a Spanish language TV show set in Spain, meaning not in North or South America, but in actual Spain. It was created by Alex de la Iglesia. He's been active since the 1990s. The only other work of his that I kind of recall seeing is a horror movie from the 1990s called Day of the Beast. I don't recall anything much other than it was something like a priest and a heavy metal band combined forces to fight the Antichrist. It sounds kind of preposterous, but whatever. I've seen tens of thousands of horror films at this point. So our main stars are Edward Fernandez as Father Manuel Vergara, that's who you see on the screen right now. He's an older priest, partially exiled to Pedraza, though things are more complicated as we learned in the episode. I've seen enough Spanish and European movies and TV to recognize the actor from somewhere, but I just can't recall where at the moment. Megan Montana plays Elena. Miguel Angel Silvestre plays the mayor Paco. You might recognize him from Sense8, a science fiction TV show from around 10 years ago. Now, the last star which I mentioned is Macarena Gomez as Merche, Paco's wife and the owner of a large business in Pedroza. Now, her character seems to be the driving force behind the main business in the town, which is appears to be based on processing cattle. Okay, but to any horror fan, she is the most recognizable actor by far in this show. There's a Lovecraftian movie called Dagon from back in 2001, and she was one of the stars of it. And finally, before you'll take a quick gander at the trailer, this is a review of the first season, which ended in 2022. There's a second season, which I will talk about way later in my reviews, which I believe is premiering in August or September. So my reviews are going to be pretty spoiler heavy, but I'm going to try not to reveal the outcome. So let's take a look at this here trailer. Now I have it subtitled, but muted, but it's in Spanish language anyway, and the music sounds great. So this is Father Vergara. I haven't seen that episode where this is in yet, but it's a very investigatory show where something happens in this town, and people go and investigate stuff there. Father Vergara is a very physical person. You'll find more about him. He's always working out with boxing to try to keep him to let off stress relief. You see some of the creepy stuff going on. More Father Vergara relations. There's Elena. I've seen the actor who plays Elena somewhere before. I really like this trailer. That's one of the coins. That's the basic premise. For those who don't know the Christian lore, Judas in the Bible, Judas received 30 coins from the Romans to point out Christ. Now, and this scene is from the, I guess you would say, the theme montage, the theme song montage, which depicts the crucifixion of Christ and Judas's self-termination as a result of that. This is the opening scene. That's what sold me on it. This was in the first episode, and this is amazing. There's one thing about this show, which you'll hear more about when I do more of the review, is there's no hide. They don't hide the supernatural from the audience. We know it's real in the show. Okay. I can't wait to watch the next couple episodes. I want to have my reviews out for the first 3 this week, and then I'll watch the next 2 and do reviews thereafter. That's interesting. Wow. So let's okay, so let's get into my review of the episode now. On production values, I mean, through one episode, well, I've seen 3, obviously, I told you that. It looks very well put together. No flaws in that regard. Direction solid, acting great. The writing, the scene production, the sets look beautiful from wherever they're filming it in Spain. So let's talk about our opening scenes, our scenes before the opening title song. We have a mysterious man shooting his way into a bank and stealing a silver coin out of a safety deposit box. So we get right away into the action, into the supernatural events. This guy gets shot multiple times. He's bleeding, but he doesn't even blink. He gets in the car with the priest who removes something from his neck, and the guy basically instantly dies. Right. The theme song is this menacing music, while the images from the Fiction of Christ play. I mentioned that before. You pretty much know what the basic premise of the show from the opening, from the title, the premise. Okay. So what happens in the actual episode? We begin with a birthing cattle. There's a fierce storm outside, and the town folks witness Elena pull a human-looking child from the cow. We also learn, as we switch to another scene, that the mayor's wife has a large investment in modern meatpacking plants, which is central to the town's economy. Paco, the mayor, who is summoned to deal with the new crisis. The townsfolk are all sorts of anxious. Paco puts a lid on things, keeping it off the internet, and he sends out a message to get the last remaining character involved, the new local priest, Father Manuel Vergara. That's where we get to Vergara, the invented physical man. Right away, we see Vergara working the bags. Yeah, my mouse took a vacation. Anyway, so he's working the bags. So Father Vergara points out when they're watching the video, because they have recordings of it, he points out when they're all distracted by the storm surge, that was an opportunity, he says, for someone to have substituted in the human infant. Now, I like this scene a lot, okay? It establishes that Father Vergara is someone skeptical of the supernatural. Although we later learn it's because he, for whatever reason, is someone who works with the suppressed knowledge of the supernatural. Okay? There's one sort of logical issue with it, which not so much with the story, but that every single person thought someone could physically remove a calf, which is rather large, from a cow's open uterus in a couple of seconds. Okay, a general audience might sort of mentally overlook that sort of premise, like the illogical of what Father Gar proposed. But I mean, I've been around a cow birth. Cow offspring are rather large, even from birth. I think they played this as Father Vergara using psychological manipulation, meaning he took advantage of the anxiety and willingness to believe in him to gloss over a significant hole in suggestion. From there, Paco begins an investigation, looking for the woman who hypothetically gave birth to the baby. I'm not going to bore you with the details, because they're not boring details, but it would be if I had to recite them. But the show is well constructed at all levels of plotting and storytelling. Eventually, we get to a scene where Antonio is the guy who was Father Vergara was talking about. He basically lost it, and he wants to kill the newborn and toss him off a bell tower. Now, I remember thinking that the infant was too large to be newborn and too mobile, like almost twice as large as he should be. I initially thought that this was just using a pot baby, and they thought no one would care. I was way wrong. Okay? Everything in this show matters. It's going to be one of those note all the details type of shows. Antonio lives through a sort of self-termination effort and warns the priest that he's been found that they're coming for him. This sets up our initial plot in motion, which is the mystery surrounding Father Vergara. This leads to an interesting bit of information that Merche drops during the conversation with Paco about Father Vergara. She says something like, "What's the first thing you get when you Google this town? That weird things happen here." Okay, so that is a big playoff, right? Because that's a lore drop, basically. Your interpretation that even before the father came there and the coin came there, all sorts of weird stuff was happening around that town. Right? So the show does a wonderful, masterful job with the pacing. The episode's almost 80 minutes long, and it really has one point where I almost wish they'd split into episodes. But at the end, I was glad they didn't. There is a point, like in From, where the plot massively accelerates. It proceeds along and whoop, ramps up the pacing. And everything prior to that builds towards it. That trend continues through the first 3 episodes. The show managed to establish Paco and Merce's marital relationship as a storytelling element within the first 20 minutes, which is really good. On a negative note, the character of Antonio is almost too much of a plot device. I think it might have been worth separating his role early on, where he reveals the secret story to Father Vergara, from his later role as one of the episode's antagonists. I don't know, it seemed like they just had that character doing too much. The showrunners draw you into the episode's story and the show's mythology. At the same time, they managed to do this rather well. The image I am using for my thumbnail, which I'll show you guys here, so I don't know if you could see it very well, but that's the image I'm going to use on my thumbnail. And I have this question. Why is there a giant's bird's nest on the roof of that tower? If you look in the left-hand corner, that's a huge bird's nest. It's at least 6 feet diameter, a diameter bird's nest. There's no, you could fit like 7 eagles could use that nest, and they could sublet it, you know? I'm going to bet that's a plan for future storylines. So, at the end here, since this is the first episode, it had a lot to establish, and it does it extremely well. The only complaints I have are that maybe splitting 2 episodes would have been better, and also modifying Antonio's role in the story to be 2 characters. On retrospect, having seen the second and third episodes, I think they go for that deliberate effort of staging the story. Instead of having multiple parallel subplots, they have subplot A lead to subplot B, lead to subplot C as their storytelling structure. The only warning sign is the notion that Father Vergara is taking the line of complete supernatural denial, despite that knowing it's real. That worries me if they drag that trend out too long. Now, since they did that, they have to make his reconciliation of purpose with Paco and Elena work out and not feel either convinced or delayed too long. I hardly recommend give at least 1 episode a shot. I mean, give at least 3 in my opinion. This is 8.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching my video. Smash the like if you liked it, or dislike if you disliked. Comment down below if you have any questions. Please share if you find it worthwhile. I'm Matt. Thank you. Have a nice day, and I am out of here. If I could find the stop button.